Oceans are vital to our well-being, and by protecting our marine ecosystems, we contribute to our individual health as well as our collective economy, culture, industry, and environment. If people forget what the seas were once like and consider their present condition as natural, then we will end up trying to maintain ecosystems in their present, heavily impacted state. We must do better than that if we want coastal communities to survive and fish populations to recover. Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society, Newfoundland and Labrador chapter, have identified ocean champions, individuals who have appreciation of the ocean and a shared knowledge of its diversity. Here are their stories.
Familiar with the ocean my whole life. I grew up around the ocean with my father and my fishing. His whole family was fishing, and I grew up as a kid going out with them in traps, just watching them haul cod traps and that. And then when I got older, I became a fisherman myself and started fishing with my father as part of his crew until eventually I started running his boat.
Fisherman all my life. 43 years at it now. You know, there's been a lot of ups and downs with it. Good years and bad years. That's the way it always was, and that's the way it's always going to be. In my opinion, you're never going to have 2 years alike. The best memories I had of the ocean, you know, seeing that sight was something else. To see 7 and 8 skiffs, trap skiffs into the wharf at the one time, log loaded with fish. It was quite a sight.
Been fishing since 1972. We used to fish cod traps. We had 6 men in a crew. We were using cod traps and dory. We're fishing line waters, we're fishing crab and different species. Before it was mainly cod. Back when we started it was cod and hook and line traps, somewhat gill nets.
Well, when the fishery closed in '92, we had 66 or 67 fishermen fished there the year before that. And back in the earlier years, there would have been hundreds. I think we have 10 fishermen there now.
You didn't need a lot of gear back then, but now you need a lot of gear. Back in them times, they're all good to catch fish. We changed a lot over the years. Now we're starting with different style boats, going further offshore.
I mean, how fish is handled now is a lot different than when we were fishing. First land was taken up out of the boats with prongs and pews. You know, that's how it was taken up out of the boat. So you can imagine what that did to the fish, you know. Which right now everything is hiced out, you know. There's nothing touches the fish, and the quantity of fish has changed a lot. Like I said before, one of the best sights ever I had was the skiff loads of fish. There's absolutely no fish here now. My brother Paul is doing the Sentinel fishery here. I believe he had 4 fish for the summer, for 10 weeks. With that was 6 nets a day. So it worked out to close to 150 to close to 200 nets that he used for 4 fish. Or once upon a time there was thousands of it. Thousands. But absolutely none there now.
Places you find fish before, there's places you can't find them now, and there's places you wouldn't find before you find them now. I guess that's to do with the temperature changes in the ocean environment.
The management is changing a bit of it, and the overfishing and all that there, what happened with the cod and all that there is happening, and it's continuing to happen what they're doing.
Well, I guess it's like this. Was people here before us that done fishing, and they left what they could for us. I don't know if they knew they were doing it or they didn't, but they didn't take it on, destroy everything and pollute the ocean.
I've studied it over the years. I did a master's degree in marine studies, in fisheries resource management. So it was all about managing fisheries. And I think that there's a real disjoint between the people who are concerned and the agencies that are concerned, the grassroots, and the people who make the policies. The people who make the policies are pushed by economics. It's all about jobs, it's all about the economy, and the economy is nothing without the environment. If we screw up the environment, there is absolutely no way that we're going to make a living from it.
The profession that I chose, or that somehow chose me also, was I wanted to be working on the ocean. I've always worked on the ocean all my life. In some capacity, I've always been working on the ocean or looking at the ocean. Right now we run a program that assists fishermen to remove large whales from fishing gear, and we also attend to strandings of marine animals, which include leatherback sea turtles throughout the region of Newfoundland and Labrador.
So I'm involved with the ocean by a scuba diver and running a scuba diving tourism business. What we've been finding is that there is some, the marine life that are coming around, like the turtles, the mola mola, the sunfish. You're seeing more of the orca whale coming around our shores. Of course, we still have, the capelins are coming, but it seems like they're coming later, and the whales are sticking around longer. So there is some changes in the ocean environment.
I think the temperature in the winters now that climate changes is making a major effect. The water temperature now is totally different. We watch center sound at different temperatures of water, and you won't get certain species of crab now that when the temperatures change, and we're seeing stuff more like stuff coming up, the different animals like a sea lion. We see a sea lion this year, and I don't know, it's coming up because the temperatures of water changing or what it is. Species came around, like you see the fish disappearing, then coming back, and all different things, and you get into different species like whelk. We're catching whelk now. Never ever knew what that was no more than 8 or 10 years ago, and you're seeing a lot of different stuff happening in the water. Lots now you'll see go up and you'll find different things swimming around the water. We don't know what it is. Goes up, little tropical fish and all that stuff. It's like it's changing quite a bit.
Well, we've been studying it now since it closed. My belief is we're right here on the coast where we are now. There seems to be a space between Cape St. Francis and Cape behind it. There's absolutely no codfish, and a lot of the other species have left also. Like the herring here one time, the whole harbour turn white with the spawn, and it'd heave up on the beaches, and we'd haul it up on the horse and boxcar, haul it in on the hay meadows and everything. There's none of that now, that's all gone. Now, as far as I know, that stock of herring was never caught to that point that there was absolutely none left. There's no codfish here. The capelin, they'll come to the beach but will not roll. They'll come 6 inches from the beach but will not roll up on the beach. So we've come to the conclusion that the water is too warm. It has nothing to do with there's no fish. It's just that for some reason this piece of the coast here has the water has changed, it's warmed up. What we have noticed is a lot of warm water fish, like mackerel, and you see these big sunfish, in the warm water. Sharks, all kinds of sharks. The killer whales are here. So it's telling us something.
I think there's in my opinion, and partially a cycle too, because years you don't get much crab. Throughout years, all of a sudden the crab cycle goes down, then all of a sudden the fish cycle goes up and stuff like that. There you get more fish or more other stuff. Then the years that you get lots of crab, there's not so much of the other stuff. It's almost like it's a cycle.
Well, looking at the ocean, and we're looking at it here now, it doesn't seem like it has changed, and it hasn't changed. It looks pretty much the same. As when my first experiences of it, it's the same colour. It's windier, it's calm. Most of the time, it's just windy around here, but it's not really how the ocean. Like you can't see how the oceans are looking at it, how it has changed. It's how we use the ocean has changed, and that's probably going to be the deciding factor on how and real impact on the ocean.
Today's ocean is starting to decline big time. It's changing actually. Not that it's declining. It's just changing. It's a different type of fishery. It's we go out offshore looking for different species. and it's still rich in resources, but the ones that used to be the main king of the sea is not the king of the sea anymore, like the catfish. The catfish one time was the whole fishery basically based on the catfish. Now that's one of the minor things. The biggest fishery now is the crab fishery. The whelk fishery is starting to come up to be a bigger fishery. So it's still rich in resources, but it's just a different resource. And if it's not managed properly, it's going to go where the cod has gone.
There's a lot of pressure on oceans in terms of fishing to extract as much as possible for the best price. We often take fish, like forage fish like capelin. They're bait fish for everything else. We take them and we sell them. With not a lot of consideration of the ecosystem as a whole.
The bait then. The bait has been overfished, the capelin's been overfished. And I guess all that's playing a factor into the reason why the cod stocks have gone down. I mean, there's not enough bait probably around to feed the fish.
Well, there better be a positive outlook for it, or now we're in pretty serious trouble. Whether or not we have the capability to fix such problems, such as over harvesting, in effect would affect to such species as codfish and other species. We tend to look at the ocean as a place where we can just use it, and it's not like and expect more from it.
The ocean's still got a big future, but I mean, we got a lot of things there playing factors into the fishery.
I don't know. Don't have a clue. They can be solved. Some of them can be solved, but the climate's not going to be solved. It's just a part of it that we're going to have to deal with and whatnot. The overfishing stuff like that there with the different things that happens all winter long, we're all in tied up. They let the bigger boats go out and clean it all up and cutting down on our quotas. They can start patrolling that better and start managing it a bit better.
Well, I don't know how, if the water's too warm, I don't know how you're going to cool it down, And even if we did know how to do it, it's probably better to leave it to nature to do it. I believe we know more about the moon than we do about the ocean. At least you've been on the moon. There's places out there they haven't been down there yet. They're getting there, but they haven't been there yet,
Well, I think the oceans would be just fine without humans. Just fine. The animals would do well without us. All of the problems that are in oceans are human caused. That's the fact of it. Everything from pH variations that we see now in oceans to the plastics that are on the beaches. We're the cause of it.
The future of the ocean is directly related to how we handle it, and how we limit our activity on it or don't limit our activity on it, how we limit exploration of it or don't limit exploration of it. So it also depends on there's a lot of recreational boating that's happening in this area that is new in the last 10 or so years. It's something that's changing how we use the ocean.
Well, we have to be diligent of everything we do, using Mother Nature and that ocean that is more powerful than anything on land. And I think that we depend on the oceans, and the oceans depend on us. So I think we have to be diligent, and we have to respect it, and we have to protect it.
By listening to our ocean champions, we can ensure our oceans will be sustainable now and for the future. Find out more at CPAWS-NL.org.